So the challenge is growth magnifies whatever already exists in the business. So if your business is profitable, growth creates wealth. If your business is not profitable, growth accelerates the problem. And that's where you look at your bank account and you say, hey, we're doing double what we were last quarter, last year, whatever, but I have less money in the bank. Because you need to look at your cost. Your direct costs and your overhead costs are going up. And unfortunately, they don't go up dollar for dollar. A lot of times your expenses go up at a higher rate than your revenue does. Have you ever had the best month of your life in your business? And you look around and you have to ask, where's my money? I totally get it. Today, on today's episode of Pivot to Profit, we're going to talk about why revenue growth is actually making us poor. Because here's the thing, revenue is not the goal. Profitable growth is the goal. If your margins are shrinking as sales increase, you're building a bigger problem, not a bigger business. So have you ever looked at your revenue and thought, yes, we had our biggest month ever, but why doesn't my bank account feel like any bigger? I've had 2 conversations in the past couple of weeks with entrepreneurs saying this exact thing. One gentleman is in the e-commerce space, and he said, last month was a record breaker for us. We sold so much. And I said, great, how's your bank account? And he's like, I don't know where it is. And I had a different client that provides a service, and she said, last week was the best week in our business. I've been in business for 5 years, and it's the biggest sales we've ever had. I said, amazing. How's your bank account feel? And she's like, I don't know where the money is. So I see this all the time in businesses doing $1 million+ in revenue, and they're just growing quickly. But unfortunately, a lot of them are not growing wealthier. So today we're going to talk about why revenue growth can actually make you feel poorer and the financial metrics that you should be watching. So if you've ever felt like you're working really hard, managing more people, serving more clients, but somehow taking home less money, this video is for you. So let's start with the revenue trap. Most business owners celebrate amazing revenue milestones, getting new clients, record-breaking sales months, but revenue doesn't pay the bills. Revenue is simply money moving into your business. It tells us nothing about profitability, cash flow, owner compensation, the sustainability of your business. So let's look at 2 examples. Business A, service-based business doing $2 million in revenue. Good team, working hard, dedicated, gaining clients, but has a higher ticket. They also have a higher profit margin. So they're a $2 million business making $400,000 net profit. Business B has $4 million in revenue and $100,000 in profit. Bigger team, more clients, more service offering. Which one would you rather have? The truth is, Business A is worth more. Business A's owner is making more money, and Business A has more money in the bank, so they have more freedom. So here's the thing. The problem isn't growth. The problem is growing something that isn't profitable. So a $4 million business that's doing $100,000 net profit isn't as valuable as a business doing $2 million with $400,000 net profit. So let's talk about the hidden costs of growth. Scaling your business is amazing and it's hard because as revenue starts to increase, you need to hire more people. You need to bring in more contractors. You need to add more software because each new person costs another $20 a month for whatever the software is. Then you need a management software to handle all the clients. Then you need a middle managers, and then you need department heads and department leads, and your overhead just starts growing. Then your cost to deliver goes up because you have more people, more software. And then all of a sudden you have more clients and you need this whole client support situation. So as revenue increases, you need to be prepared that your costs are going to go up because of team, software, management fees, all of the delivery. But unfortunately, if you're just looking at revenue and just looking at your costs and ignoring your profitability, it's not profitable growth. Many business owners assume if I double revenue, I will double my profit. In reality, unfortunately, revenue will double and often expenses will triple. So let's talk about a client that was growing really, really rapidly, 50% year over year. But what that meant was they had to hire a new salesperson. Then they had to hire a customer service person. And then unfortunately, their operations office manager who'd been there for a long time just couldn't keep up. So then they had to hire a higher level person. And so while their revenue was going up, their payroll was going up and their profitability was going down because the two lines were not growing at the same rate. So while revenue was going up, expenses was growing higher and their profitability dipped below 5%. So the challenge is growth magnifies whatever already exists in the business. So if your business is profitable, growth creates wealth. If your business is not profitable, growth accelerates the problem. And that's where you look at your bank account and you say, hey, we're doing double what we were last quarter, last year, whatever, but I have less money in the bank because you need to look at your cost. Your direct costs and your overhead costs are going up. And unfortunately, they don't go up dollar for dollar. A lot of times your expenses go up at a higher rate than your revenue does. So let's talk about the numbers that actually matter, that actually help you, the business owner, the CEO, tip the scale and make a big difference. Revenue is a vanity metric. It is super fun to walk around and say, I'm an X million dollar a year business. I have X amount of clients. I have X amount of team. That is all great, but that's all vanity. The truth is in the numbers beyond that, because I have met multi-7-figure, 8-figure businesses that are broke. We see clients coming into our business all the time when we do our analysis process, and they tell us this beautiful story of growth and we are cheering them on. And then unfortunately we look behind the hoods and we're like, dude, you've got to be stressed. Like you just cashed out some retirement to handle it. You had to take these crazy loans. And the business owner is just feeling the stress and the weight of that scaling because of the added costs that they've had to take in. So let's talk about what metrics can help you understand, am I actually winning at this game? Am I growing profitably? So the first one is gross profit margin. And this is your income less direct cost. So these are the costs after delivering your services, how much is left. So look at your P&L, turn the setting that says percentage of income and look at what your gross profit margin is. If you don't know that number, your profitability, I bet, is not where you want it to be. The next number to look at is your net profit margin. And so this is your gross profit margin, less your expenses, what's left. So this is how much money is actually left over for things like paying down debt, for distributions, for capital investments in future growth in the business. That's your net profit margin. And as a reminder, that's also what the IRS is going to tax you on in most of your cases, less some depreciation and some other things. But if you look profitable on paper and have no money in the bank, the IRS doesn't care. They're still going to say that they are owed money. So that's where metric number 3 is cash flow. This is really, really important to monitor because it lets you know, do I have enough money available when I need it? And this is that forward-looking view. So it's the money in versus the money out. How much is going to be left over? How much am I going to have after I make my loan payments, after I take my distributions, after I make my estimated tax strategy payments, right? And far too often, people are just looking in the rearview mirror. Cash flow is a forward-looking view of the numbers in your business. And if entrepreneurs are only looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to drive right into a big hole that says, I have no profit. But if you have a cash flow, you can see forward-looking what's coming. Another huge metric is profitability by service line. This means which offers are actually making us money. We work with hundreds of businesses, and the number one challenge that I've seen over the last 18 months with our clients is they are not charging enough for their services. And it comes down to the fact that their costs have been creeping up over time, but their what they're charging their clients have not been increasing at the same rate. And so their costs are outweighing what they're charging. And so when we sit down with clients with our CFO onboarding and we do profitability by service line, it unfortunately, 90% of the time, we identify that one of the services that the client is providing just isn't profitable anymore. It might have been a while ago, but now that there's been more people, there's been more software, our marketing expense is higher, our onboarding is taking longer, our fulfillment is taking longer, the margins are just being eroded away. So it is time, if you are scaling and you're saying, where's my money? Understand your profitability by service line. Understand what's actually making you money and double down on what's actually working. Spend more time focusing on the services that you provide that have a higher profit margin. Spend more time selling those and sell less of the others or raise your prices. So understand key metrics, gross profit margin, net profit margin, cash flow, the forward-looking view, and profitability by service line. If you are looking at those 4 numbers, not just revenue, you will ensure that you're having profitable growth. And if you're not having profitable growth, you can quickly make changes within your business to right the ship and fix it. So many people have a popular offer, a busy offer, and a profitable offer. So when you're looking at your profitability by service line, it's really important to identify which one is the popular one that everyone signs up for, which one's the busy one that keeps your team busy, and which one's the profitable one, and sell more of the profitable one. So now let's talk about stop selling more of what doesn't work. Once you've identified what is the busy offer, the one that takes too much of your team's time, you either need to increase the price, or you need to stop selling it, or you need to bundle it with another service that has a higher profitability. Unfortunately, numbers don't lie, and you can't outsell your way out of a hole if your offer is not profitable. You will just get broke faster. So if you have a $5,000 offer that costs you $6,000 to fulfill on, every time you sell it, you lose $1,000. So selling 3 of them costs you $3,000. So selling more when it's not profitable does not solve your problem. Underpricing is the biggest challenge that our clients are struggling with right now. And it's just understanding your profitability by product or service line, charging the right amount, tightening your belt on fulfillment, being clear on scope creep, making sure that what you're fulfilling is in scope and you are being effective and efficient with your team and they are showing up, they are prepared, and they're not having multiple calls or going multiple times. Tightening your operational and fulfillment costs will make a huge difference. If every sale generates a small amount of profit, then more sales create work, complexity, and stress, not wealth. So the trick here is to understand what of my services makes the highest profit margin, what do people enjoy, and how can I sell more of that rather than what keeps my team busy or what I'm not making money on. So what happens if you doubled your sales tomorrow? Would you make money or would you lose money? So at this point, if you're asking, what do I do next? Let me give you some action items. First, review your profitability by service. What is your profitable service? What is your popular service? And what is your busy service? And your busy service and your popular service, if they are not profitable, either increase the price on them, decrease your cost to fulfill on them, or stop selling them. Where is your money coming from? Where's your headaches coming from? If you have trouble clients and they happen to all be bundled on one service item, that might be your busy service item and it's time to stop selling it, or we need to double, triple the price on it. Next is calculate your margins. Understand your gross profit margin and your net profit margin. And if the numbers aren't lining up, we need to make some changes. For reference, most businesses, most service-based businesses should be able to make at least 15% net profit. That is the baseline. That gives us enough money to prepare for taxes, handle some debt, and have some money set aside for a rainy day. above that, and we are excited. I recently had a client, service-based business, come in and they're at 27%. And I'm like, fantastic. But they were still stressed about money. So we make some tweaks and we got them up to 32% within just a few months. It's important to understand these numbers. And again, if your net profit margin and you are a service provider is less than 15%, cash is going to be stressful. Tax time is going to be hard, and you're going to have a hard time paying down your debt. So you want to be at least 15% or higher. And the third step is to create a financial dashboard. And that's where having a fractional CFO like my company really helps, because I know a lot of business owners that love to build dashboards. Just kidding. They don't. They love to sell their products and their services. They love to develop their team. They love to help their clients. They don't love to build a financial dashboard. So it's super important to have someone on your team do it, or have a fractional CFO. Just go to pamjordan.com. We'd love to help you build a financial dashboard so that you're tracking revenue. Yes, it is important, but it is not the most important number. You need to also have the dashboard track your gross profit margin, your net profit margin, and allow you to have that forward-looking view with a cash flow forecast. And it's also important to, on a monthly basis, track your revenue by service line so we can really tell what's working and what's not working. So if you're a founder, CEO of a service-based business and you are chasing revenue goals and you look at your bank account and you're scratching your head, make sure that you're incorporating and looking at these metrics and you start chasing profit goals, because your higher profit margin is what's going to bring you financial freedom, time freedom, and the ability to exit your business on your terms. Revenue is not a scorecard. Profit is. Growing revenue without understanding your numbers will leave you overworked, stressed, and wondering where your money went. The reality is your business is creating lasting wealth if you track these numbers. So take a moment, look at your numbers, and if you don't have your numbers in order, if you don't know where your money's going, if you're not profitable, we would love to help. pamjordan.com. Find a financial resource strategist to help you, because if you don't know which of your services are actually making you money, that's the first place to start, because the goal isn't to build a bigger business. The goal is to build a profitable one. So thank you so much. Hopefully this is helpful. Follow these action items, and remember, it's not what you make that matters, it's what you keep.